Welcome back to another We Are Sunderland podcast in partnership with the Sunderland Farm Museum. It's a special one this morning with former Sunderland star Lynden Gooch. We sat down with the Black Cats Academy graduate ahead of his return to the Stadium of Light last month with Stoke City to discuss all things red and white. The relegation from the Premier League, scoring the winner in the Papa John's Trophy final at Wembley, the impact of the takeover behind the scenes, promotion of the Championship and much more. Don't forget to head over to We Are Sunderland to take advantage of our launch offer, which is 6 months of coverage for just £1. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment if you're enjoying the content so far. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Well, first of all, thanks for joining me, Lynden. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Yeah, all good.
There can only be sort of one place to start, 250 appearances for yourself. I mean, did you ever envisage hitting that mark when you first started out?
No, to be honest, you don't really think about it, do you? I think as a young player, you have a dream, don't you, of being a professional footballer. And obviously mine from a young age was playing for Sunderland. So you just kind of take it in your stride.
If I take you back to, the very start of when you first started playing football back over in America, how was that? Because it's obviously a different environment to over here.
Yeah, like it's well documented. Obviously, my dad's English and my mom's Irish. So, yeah, I had an older brother who played football growing up, and I just kind of followed him, as little brothers do. And then just went from there, really. My dad used to coach us and teach us the basics of football. And as we got older, he was our coach for our younger teams and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, I mean, at what age I think it was 10, was it 10 years old you were when Sunderland first sort of registered, got in touch with you? How did that come about?
There was a Centre of Excellence from California coming over to the Northeast to train and play a few games. I think it was Sunderland, Darlington and York at the time. So, yeah, that's how it started. And I scored a hat-trick in my first game. At the Academy of Light, and then that was basically it. At the time, Jed McNamee was the Academy manager, and obviously Kevin Ball was there. So yeah, just kind of spiraled from there, really.
I mean, you came over, I think I'm right in saying, spring break, summer breaks. How was that? Was it weird at that sort of age, or were you very much, a young lad like living the dream?
Yeah, I was. To be honest, from a young age, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, which is, I know people find that quite strange, or I think that I was pushed at it, but I really wasn't. I just wanted to play football. I wanted to come to England and be a professional footballer. Growing up, they always had the games on. The Premier League was always on the telly. Obviously, the big teams were always on, like Man United. So I was always watching United play as a young lad. And yeah, it was that was just me from a young age. That's all I wanted to do. I never really had like family holidays or anything like that. It was always spent at the academy.
How was that? Did you come over by yourself, or did your dad sort of come with you?
Yeah, it was me and my dad. Every school holiday pretty much up until I was 16. Yeah.
And then obviously when you were 16, was that by yourself? Because that's pretty big, a big move at such a young age.
Yeah, that's when I moved. Yeah, I moved into digs in Seaburn. I was living with John Egan at the time, so that was obviously a big transition.
I mean, how did you first settle in? I know, because just from a personal point of view, if that was me, there'd be quite a bit of homesickness. You've got to adapt to a different country. How was that?
Yeah, to be fair, obviously I knew everyone at the club, which is why I was so adamant that I wanted to go to Sunderland, because I had different options as well. I went to West Ham just to see what that was like, but I always wanted to go to Sunderland. Obviously the facilities were fantastic, but at the time I just felt like it was perfect for me. I knew all the staff. It felt like a family club. And like I say, I was familiar with everyone and even the players. I knew the likes of George Honeyman from 10, 11 years old. And then obviously we came all the way through together. So, it was that bit was quite easy, yeah.
Did you stay in touch with the likes of George, when you were back over in America and coming through?
Yeah, I would do, yeah. Not massively. I don't think social media was kind of that big then, you know what I mean? But I was always looking forward to coming over any chance I got.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know you came through the ranks. You had a loan spell at Gateshead as well under Gary Mills, and I think that was obviously on the back of when they went to Wembley. How was that first taste of senior football? Because just looking back, I remember obviously that side at the time was well known for the way they wanted to play football. That must have suited you as well as a young player.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I always speak about my time at Gateshead was massive for me. Um, I absolutely loved my time there, and I was actually gutted that the club recalled me when they did because I wanted to continue playing there. So yeah, it was great. I'm still quite close with a lot of the lads that I played with at Gateshead. I keep in touch with them and see them around the northeast when I'm home and stuff like that. But yeah, I loved it. It was really grounding. I had to wash my own kit every day, bring my own dinner in every day. You know what I mean? Which is, you don't have to do that at Sunderland at the academy. You've got everything there. So it was brilliant. I loved it. Yeah.
Do you think that stood you in good stead for when you returned? Because I know it was only a couple of months before you were handed your first team debut.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was a big step. I think sometimes players kind of see non-league and think, "Oh, I don't really want to go there," but it's the best thing I ever did. Personally, I think there was loads of lads in my youth team who didn't go on those sort of loans and then were released 2 or 3 years later, whereas I was kind of well in the first team, but at that time, further down the road. So I think those experiences are just good. Even if they don't go well, you learn from them. But yeah, I absolutely loved it.
So just obviously when you came through the ranks, I mean, we obviously know when you broke into the first team, you played off the wing. At Gateshead, you did play in a bit of a central role also off the wing. Is that sort of the position that you generally played when you were growing up?
Yeah, growing up, I always played up front, really. Either as a number 9 or a number 10 behind the striker. That's where I always played from 10 years old. That's how someone kind of got the attention of them. And then even like youth team years, I did that. And in the 21s, when I eventually kind of broke into the first team, I was playing as a number 10 and scoring goals. And then, like, it happens a lot. Young players, they get into the first team and managers kind of put you out wide because of your energy and to work hard and stuff like that. And I just kind of stayed there.
How do you look back on those sort of early years when you first broke in? Because, Sunderland were a huge Premier League club at the time. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about, what happened after. But how do you look back on that? Because, again, still such a young age you broke into that team. Do you think, not necessarily yourself, but some players maybe take it for granted of once they get there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, totally. I think some players obviously might play a couple of games or be in around it and think they've kind of, right, that's me, I'm going to stay here. But it's not that easy. Especially in the Premier League. Like at the time, we had some unbelievable players, players on obviously a lot of money, and then you're coming into that environment and you've got to try and make some sort of impression to try and get in there and stay. So yeah, unfortunately, like you say, the Premier League years, like for me personally, once I got in there, it didn't last too long. So yeah, that was disappointing, obviously.
Yeah, obviously you stuck around as well afterwards. I know, just obviously in previous, job that I've had, I spoke about yourself. It's very rarely that you get a player who sticks around when they drop down. Not just to the Championship, but then to League One. I mean, it's pretty much testament to your character as well of wanting to stay and help get the club back up to that. How tough were those years, both mentally and seeing the club that from where they came from the Premier League to drop down to League One?
No, it's extremely difficult. Obviously, growing up, when I first started coming to the Academy of Light, I think when I was 10, I think it might have been the promotion year, and then they were in the Premier League all the way through until we got relegated. So, everything about the club in terms of like obviously the academy and everything, it was all still Premier League, wasn't it?
Yeah,
all that infrastructure was still there. But yeah, I felt like it wasn't just me. Like I say, I mentioned George Honeyman, academy lads who we felt we needed to stay and try and help the club get back on the right track. Obviously, it took a lot longer than we envisioned, but I'm really proud that I stayed. It's well known how much the club means to me, although I didn't grow up in the city, like born in the city, but I definitely a big part of my life is obviously there.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that supporters look on you as an adopted Mackem. I mean, a sort of turning point was the arrival of, Kirill, Christian. How was it as a player at that time? Did you notice, a considerable change behind the scenes?
Yeah, you could tell they wanted to change things, the way the club was being operated. I think, obviously, the academy had probably been ran down quite a bit. There hadn't been much changes to it from when it first opened, so they wanted to try and change stuff at the training ground, kind of make it more modern. They redone the gym. They've redone the canteen now at the training ground. So all those sort of things they wanted to improve, not just the way they do transfers and stuff like that.
I mean, how is it as well? I mean, that group, I remember, particularly Lee Johnson had the first sort of crest of wave. We'll get onto that, Wembley in a moment. But how was that? Because there was a change in sort of impetus with recruitment and youngsters. I mean, did that sort of revitalise the group, do you think?
I think it was just kind of different than what they were doing. I think before they kind of went down, try and get the most experienced players in League One that had kind of been there and done it to try and get the club back. And then, as you say, they kind of went down a younger route, getting younger players from Premier League clubs who mightn't have been playing much. And in the end, it obviously worked out.
Yeah, you obviously played. The club obviously got to Papa John's Trophy final, or EFL Trophy as it was. Just if I take you back to that season in particular was bizarre. Just having no fans there. I mean, scoring in front of a Wembley Bowl. I know I spoke to you after the playoff final and we sort of touched on, that moment. But how bizarre was that day to stand on the Wembley turf with no fans there?
Yeah, it was really strange. Playing at Wembley for most people, especially in England, obviously, is a massive moment. And then you're going into a cup final and there's no fans there, so it's really strange. But obviously, a couple of years before, we'd done that and we lost. So who knows what would have happened if the fans were there that day? Things happen for a reason, I suppose. And to be honest, I'm just glad that I scored and that we got that Wembley hoodoo out the way at the time.
Yeah, McGeady played obviously a wonderful through ball for you, and I think just from the press box looking on, time seemed to slow down. So how was that for you on the pitch? Because I remember the keeper just coming out. It must have felt like eternity.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if he would make the first move, which he kind of did, and then I just kind of waited and lifted it over him as soon as I seen him leaning a bit. So yeah, it seemed to take forever to get to the goal from when Geeds made the pass. So. It was a great moment.
12 months later, obviously, back again, maybe a little bit longer. I mean, I remember speaking to you again after that, and you said it was one of the greatest days of your life. Is that still the case?
Yeah, definitely. That's obviously a massive moment in my career. I think 6 months before that, there was talk of me leaving Sunderland at the time as well. So yeah, ended up staying and then promotion, which is what I always wanted to do. When we dropped down to League One was obviously to help the club get back to where they want to be. And then obviously staying and playing the next season. And obviously I've ended up here. So without that promotion, I probably wouldn't be at a club like Stoke now as well.
Yeah. How big of an impact did Alex Neil have on you? But first of all, staying at Sunderland and then later on in your move to Stoke?
Yeah, massive. I think when he took the job at Sunderland, I think the transfer window had just shut when he got the job, and he said, "I know you've had a bit of trouble and whatever has gone on, but only us can kind of try and fix it and try and get the club promoted. And if we get promoted, then it's going to benefit everyone, whether you stay here or whether you move on. And if you do well for me, I'll try and fight for you to keep you at the club." I was like, okay, that was day one, and that was it. Just tried to get my head down and just do my best for obviously the club, but for him as well.
And then obviously last season under Tony Mowbray, I mean, Sunderland played some fantastic football at times. As a player, it must have been a real joy to be involved in that.
Yeah, brilliant. Tony's he was a great manager. I absolutely loved playing for him. Great guy as well. Obviously, we played them last week, so we had a good chat. No, yeah, like you say, some of the football was brilliant last season, without a doubt. Some of the goals we scored and the way we were able to control games and obviously getting into the playoffs was fantastic.
A tinge of disappointment, just imagine from obviously how it ended. I mean, I don't suppose that sums up how you look back on your time at Sunderland as a whole, because you have played a part, obviously, in getting them back to where they want to be.
Yeah, look, to be honest, when I've thought about leaving the club before, obviously you never know. One day you're either going to leave or retire, or whatever. So it's going to come to an end at some point. And to be honest, I always felt like I might have been a bit bitter leaving the club, or decisions that they might have made if they felt it was best for me to move on or whatever. But to be honest, it's the complete opposite. I'm just really proud of the time I had there. I'm always watching the games. I still speak to the lads all the time. I've got some of my best mates in football are still at the club. So yeah, to be honest, I just want the club and the team to do well, and especially my mates that are playing for the club. Obviously not when I'll be playing against them, but it's well documented that I support the club, and obviously all my family do as well.
Yeah, no doubt you'll get a warm welcome when you return this weekend. I mean, how much I don't know, is looking forward to the word? It's a different environment to what you'll be used to being in the opposite dugout this time.
Yeah, no, look, it's going to be really strange. I feel like I know the stadium like the back of my hand, indoor, the pitch, everything, so apart from the away dressing room. So it will be really, really weird, but it'll be great to see everyone. I still keep in contact with a lot of people, even the people that work at the stadium. One of my best mates is the kit man, so I'm always in contact, and no, it'll be great to see everyone, definitely.
That's great, Lynden. Thanks very much for your time.
No worries, mate.
There we have it. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share the video. Make sure you head over to Are Sunderland for the latest news and exclusive interviews. We'll be back on Friday with another morning briefing ahead of this weekend's clash with Plymouth Argyle. See you there.